What's your name, kid?
The Human Spider.
The Human Spider, that's it? That's the best you got?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
The sum of $3,000 will be paid to the terrifying, the deadly, the amazing Spider-Man!
My name's the Human Spider.
I don't care. Get out there.
No, he got my name wrong.
Get out there, you moron.
All right. Give me the blue light, Rosie. Welcome back to the movie Squawk. I'm Kyle. And with me, as always, Gigi, Hannah, and Trevor.
What up?
And Rosie didn't give me the blue light, so that's fine. So we're we're back with another movie. We actually got a twofer today, 2 for 1, that is, and this is.
I'm not going for that.
Give me a second, okay? Let me just do the intro.
Then he pitches as Spider-Man.
So for all you uncultured losers out there who don't know what we're trying to reference here, it's Spider-Man, specifically the good ones. This is Spider-Man 1 and 2 is what we're doing today. We watched the first two, and we're gonna talk about it here today. And yeah, so
I don't know how much watching I did through all the tears,
all the
I was
laughing,
just crying from laughing
because it's so good. Yeah,
So good.
Save that for the third one.
God damn it. So we got 8 questions in total. There's going to be 4 for the first movie, and then we're going to switch gears to the second one. So yeah, I actually don't have a synopsis of this movie pulled up, but it doesn't really matter. This is Spider-Man 1. It's about Peter Parker, or Tobey Maguire, Bully Maguire, whatever you want to call him. It's a pretty straightforward movie. Let me just pull up the actual synopsis here, real quick. Sorry.
It's the origin story.
Yeah, it's a good one.
The first origin story.
It's classic. Spider-Man centers on student Peter Parker, who, after being bitten by a genetically altered spider, gains superhuman strength and the spider-like ability to cling to any surface. He vows to use his abilities to fight crime, coming to understand the words of his beloved uncle, Ben. With great power comes great responsibility. And
I feel like he has more powers than that.
Yeah.
Just could only pick 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Stick to the walls.
It's kind of interesting looking at the cast, because Tobey Maguire's not on here until you scroll down to like the very end.
What?
And it's really weird. But
Lowest bill casting.
yeah, but you got Kristen Dunst as Mary Jane, and Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin, James Franco, Harry Osborn, J.K. Simmons, Rosemary Harris, Cliff Robertson, a couple of other people.
Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, Bruce Campbell, Randy Savage, of course. And then all the way at the bottom, you got Tobey Maguire, which is interesting to me. I don't know why he's at the
He was
bottom.
also the janitor.
So I'm just on Google looking at the Spider-Man cast from the
Oh.
2002 movie, and
I was like, IDM, he's right there.
yeah, it's weird. I don't know why, but
that one.
but anyway. So like I said, first half is going to be about Spider-Man 1. So we got some questions for that. So Gigi, you're first up.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm a sucker for a good love story.
A good one?
Yeah, a good one. How
Yeah.
do you feel about the love story between Peter Parker and MJ? Do you believe they are meant to be?
I said kind of. I think the movie does a pretty good job of establishing that Mary Jane is like clearly someone that's out of Peter Parker's league.
Yeah.
Which is very comics accurate because she's like a super catch in the comics. But for the first movie, I kind of think that they they establish the relationship between them well, where she kind of knows that she's out of his league, but he's just sort of the cute nerd. But I don't think it did well enough to convince me that these two are destined to be together.
Yeah.
There just wasn't enough, and a lot of their conversations are very cringeworthy.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh boy, yeah.
you would expect it a little bit between like a nerd who doesn't really know what to say to a girl and a very pretty girl who's like trying to deal with this nerd, but like it's cringy. So yeah, not enough to convince me that they're like destined lovers, but like, you know, I believed their relationship a little bit.
Yeah. But Hannah, punch him, he bleeds.
Not to the second movie.
That's true. Oh man.
Yeah.
Were you done?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's it.
personally, I don't think they were really meant to be, or at least not until Peter gets his powers, which kind of sounds fucked up because it's like to MJ, it's like Peter's not good enough for her, but then when he like changes, suddenly she's interested in him. But I just wrote,
Saves her.
yeah, I just wrote like to me it seems like MJ fell for Spider-Man. The Spider-Man Peter Parker,
Yeah.
which was, you know, just a strong person and a hero. And before, she didn't really pay much attention to him. And to me, the love seemed extremely one-sided, at least in the first movie. She hardly noticed him and only did when she claimed he was mysterious, which apparently is a real turn-on for her. And I think that was in the second one when she said that, but either way.
Yeah.
So I think overall, it seemed like Peter was definitely dedicated to her and definitely felt like they were destined, but I really don't think MJ felt the same way. And I don't know. I mean, when you watch the whole trilogy, they try really hard to make it seem like they're destined, but it's just so back and forth, it kind of gets old after a while.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would agree.
So I would say overall, no, they're not destined to be together, but I think in the grand scheme of things, they do make a pretty good couple. But Peter might be better off finding someone else instead of trying to deal with all this stress with Mary Jane.
Like
Just
Gwen
my personal
Stacy.
opinion. and Gwen Stacy. I mean, she was nothing. But anyway.
Oof.
Yikes.
Yeah, I just put there's a whole lot of flip-flopping.
Flip flap.
I think they tried to do a whole like will they won't they thing. First, I'm gonna say like she was like, you know, the girl next door
Yeah.
that he kind of grew up with. Maybe not idolized, but like he loved her since he was however the fuck old. I think they said like fourth grade or something.
First
I think
grade.
like first grade,
First grade,
yeah. She
which
was
you know,
6.
I when you're that young, it's pretty much meaningless. But
Mean nothing to me.
It seemed like just, you know, a high school romance thing, sort of. Like they're just high schoolers. They don't really exactly know what they want. It's just hormones running around. I think he just liked her because she was pretty
Yeah.
and
Nipples.
happened to be his next door neighbor. She didn't really. I mean, they were friends, but then she says like that line in the second movie, I think, or maybe at the end of the first, where like she's like, "I always loved you,"
Yeah.
and like, "Do you love me?" And he's like, "Oh, I can't because I'm Spider-Man. Like, we can't do this."
I think it's the end of the first one.
Yeah, so there's a whole lot of flip-flopping around, and I think it's kind of like selfish on both their parts, where it's like they sort of say how they feel, and then like they kind of take it back,
Yeah.
and then it's like, "Oh, I want you," and it's like, "Well, now I don't want you, but maybe in like 5 minutes I will." So
Yeah.
it's, just,
I don't want you
it's
anymore.
really immature, I guess.
For sure.
Yeah. So I agree. I don't really see them as destined to be, or the ones for each other. I get that Peter is supposed to be awkward and nerdy, and she's supposed to be out of the league, but like it felt very off to me, and just too. I don't want to say forced, but it just felt too. It just felt off. Like,
Well, it kind of was forced because they didn't really actually talk.
yeah.
Like, they were supposed to be friends, but they didn't really have.
Yeah, they weren't really
conversations
friendships. Yeah,
together.
it was just always like, oh, by the way, I'm running into you today, kind of thing.
Yeah.
The only times they really did talk is when they were kind of forced to, like when he, was
Yeah.
out in the backyard taking out the trash, or when Aunt May was in the hospital
Aunt May
or
was
whatever.
in the hospital,
It was
yeah.
just kind of like forced situations where they were
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I guess I have to talk to you."
Yeah, yeah. And then like kind of like what Kyle pointed out with like the fact of she fell in love with Spider-Man because she mentions it like, "Oh, I kind of have like a stupid crush." And
Yeah.
then it turns out that he's Spider-Man, so it's like, "Oh, well, I guess I like you." kind of thing. So.
Oh.
Oh, you're Spider-Man? Ah, shit. What are the chances?
What are the odds?
Yeah.
All right. Well, my question pertaining to the first movie was, why do all of the characters want to keep secrets from Harry Osborn specifically? Is it something about his personality? Is it related to his innocence in most situations? What do you think?
Tell Harry.
Yeah, don't tell Harry about this, but I think I don't know if the writers are really aware of this at all, or if it was just like a running joke, or if it was for real, or if they were, I don't know. But personally, I think the reason they kept secrets from Harry was because nobody thought he could handle the truth. He seemed very sensitive and insecure about himself. And I think his father and his friends, or at least his father, they knew of his insecurities, and instead of just being honest with him, they kept him in the dark, which I feel like is pretty fucked up. The guy, he wasn't all that bad in the first movie. And I feel like, he was just kind of there. Like, I feel like there wasn't really any redeeming qualities that he added to the first movie besides, hey, look, I'm Harry Osborn. I'm Norman's son. Like, I don't know. To me, he didn't.
His best friend.
Yeah, like, to me, he didn't feel like much of a main character until the second movie because he had a purpose. So it's hard for me to really feel for him, but I do feel bad for the guy because I do feel like a lot of people just kind of keep things from him, and it's like no real reason. They just don't want to deal with his feelings. So yeah, I mean, that's what I wrote. I just feel like they kept things from Harry because he is a bit insecure.
For me, I put Harry, despite being a part of this quote-unquote group, he felt like an outsider in all manner of things. In terms of the superhero part, while he was, connected to the whole thing by like 1 degree, he doesn't really play a role in that at all until the very end where he sees Spider-Man with his dad.
Yeah.
He's a passive observer. And then in terms of MJ, I think MJ and Peter, they always knew about each other's feelings. They just sort of didn't act on it. So Harry was just like this momentary person to be broomed off.
MJ was doing the brooming.
Yeah, like despite like, him being their friend, it kind of felt like he wasn't really their friend at all.
Yeah.
They were just sort of, I mean, they weren't using him for his money or anything. Like there must have been like some sort of like connection there, but
Probably like just years of knowing him.
yeah, he's just, I don't know, he didn't really seem like a part of the group despite being in the group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Poor Harry.
So I put, as someone who tends to have things hidden from them, I think it's because people, like Kyle said, know how sensitive he is and they don't want to deal with his feelings. Because that's exactly why people don't tell me anything. Because they don't know how I would react or take it. And then, for an example, I put during the Thanksgiving scene when his father is clearly in the wrong talking about MJ, which you can hear him. Everyone can hear him. MJ gets upset with Harry for not doing anything, and he is quick to defend his father. So we're going to ignore that sound. He does what he thinks would benefit him or make him happy, in a sense. And everyone could also think that he may choose the wrong thing to react. For example, like when MJ is like, well, why didn't you defend me? He turned and like defended his father instead of going like, well, I can't talk to my dad that way, you know?
Yeah.
He did the wrong
He
thing.
defended her for like a second.
Yeah.
And then when he came back in, he flip-flopped.
Oh, yeah. So I think that could be another reason why people don't tend to tell him stuff.
He's two-sided.
He's just confused.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think he's just destined to fail from the start.
Yeah.
I think them, isolating him with the "Don't Tell Harry's" is kind of just a trick to further isolate him, so that they can, set up that he is like misunderstood and definitely confused about what he's doing in life. But I think that also goes into play because he's literally the son of one of the biggest names in the city, and that obviously comes across to his classmates as like, you're above us, you're not like us, you're above us, and you're spoiled and you're privileged. Yeah, and so there's like a silent judgment that comes with that I think that all of them have towards him. Like, he's going to think less of them if they talk to him because he has one friend and it's Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's I think it's just a tool to further isolate him. And it definitely comes across as like a running gag throughout, but I think it's meant to further put him in a place of like he can't really get anybody's approval and nobody really cares what he thinks because they're like walking on eggshells around him almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But all he really cares about, at least from what I could grasp from the first movie, is that he really wants to appease his father because that's like the only person that he can kind of be on level with.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But at the same
Poor
time, I feel like he kind of wants to get away from his father because the one thing that I think of is like when he's when he's pretty much introduced him and his father at the field trip. I think Norman says something about should have put you in a private school or something like that. And Harry, that was Harry's choice to go to a public school, the same school as Peter. So I feel like he's somewhat.
Because he got kicked out of the private schools.
Is it?
Yeah,
I think so.
He got
but
kicked
to
out
your
if he didn't
to your
get kicked
point, he does mention like, can't you drop me off like 5 blocks from here so nobody has to see that like we're in this car or whatever. He's like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
we're right here. I'm gonna drop you off right out front.
Yeah. So I feel like there's a certain level of Harry being ashamed of who he is as well.
Yeah.
Of like
Absolutely.
being above people, like he doesn't want people to think that he's above them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Poor Harry.
Yeah.
So complicated.
Poor James Franco.
Poor James Franco. Guy went nowhere.
No.
No, he had a few movies. He had Pineapple Express. That was a fun film.
That was sarcastic. Wow. You don't get to the Room status without
He
a
was in
couple
The Room,
Spider-Mans
too.
under your belt.
Yeah. Oh man, James Franco, come on the show.
On the show.
Don't bring your brother. I don't like him.
Dave Franco.
Yeah, Dave. Anyway,
No vendetta there.
I'm just kidding. My question for the first movie: do you think that if Harry knew of his father's identity as Green Goblin and knew all the things Norman was doing in the moment, like hospitalizing Aunt May and kidnapping MJ and killing all these innocent people, he'd still swear revenge on Spider-Man after his father's death.
I said no. Harry wasn't an evil person. He would have seen things in a different light. Like obviously he cares for Peter, because Peter's kind of like his tether to normalcy. But if he saw like his dad doing his finish it,
Impressive.
Dad, what are you doing? Like, this is Aunt May. Why are you doing this and all this? I think he would have turned on his dad instantly.
Dad, what's with the mask?
I think he would have even gone so far as to like turn him in, because it is established that at the very least Doctor Strange is a character in this series, so I would assume the other Avengers are also there. They're just, owned by a different franchise, so they couldn't actually bring him in. So like,
that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, there are other superheroes already existing in this universe, so he could have gone to someone saying, "Hey, my dad is the Green Goblin. He's doing all this bad stuff.
He's a bad guy.
He needs to be taken care of."
Just take him to Ben Affleck's Daredevil.
Yeah,
Beat
it's
the
only at
crap
the
out of
end where he sees Spider-Man with his dad, where he's like, "Spider-Man did this. Like, we need to get him in jail or something."
Yeah.
So I think if he knew way early on, he would have turned on his dad.
You know who would have made a good team is Harry Osborn and freaking Jameson.
Yeah.
I hate Spider-Man, do you?
Because they would have plotted against Spider-Man for sure.
Yeah.
J. Jonah Goblin.
Okay. So I put like, I feel like Harry would have needed to see it for himself. If someone were to straight up just tell him, he probably wouldn't believe them at all.
Yeah.
But if he was like there witnessing it firsthand, I think he would be like, "What the fuck, Dad?" And then after he was convinced of that, I don't think he would have sought revenge. He would have been like, "Good riddance. Good day, sir."
Good riddance.
He's like, I get the mansion and the butler, and that's it.
Oh yeah, Bernard. Goblin gliders. He'll get his time to shine.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I thought the opposite of both of you. I think he would still swear revenge on Spider-Man. I think despite all his father's actions, he, deep down, even though he says, like, you know, he wants to get away from that life, kind of, I still think deep down he just wants the approval of his father. And, you know, the love that his dad clearly didn't show him.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, swearing revenge on Spider-Man is his perception of what his dad would want him to do, which is clearly seen throughout the other movies. So I think he would justify, you know, being like, "Hey, I need to kill Spider-Man no matter what, because that's what his father's will is."
Papa wants.
Yeah, he does whatever Papa says.
Poppy.
So, yeah, I don't think he has much free will of his own.
Poor guy.
Poor guy.
Poor bastard. So I think that if Harry knew what little Gobbly was doing the whole time,
New Gabby.
I really feel like Harry wouldn't have felt okay about it. But I feel like Harry's the kind of person that, like, it took someone like someone that he loved to die for him to have any kind of drive for anything. Because I feel like in the first movie, like I mentioned earlier, like he was just kind of there, and I feel like there wasn't much of a story for him yet. And I feel like in this first movie throughout, he kind of just was floating through life, not really having any kind of motivation for anything, but seeing his father dead was like, all right, now I have a purpose.
It's Harry time.
Yeah. So I feel like in the first movie, if he knew what his father was doing and even knew like how he, what he did to Aunt May and MJ and even Peter Parker, I mean, if he happened to know who Spider-Man was, I think it would have been interesting, but I don't know if Harry would have had the balls to do anything about it. And I think if Harry tried to stop his father, I think the Green Goblin side of Norman probably would have hurt and or maybe even killed Harry. So there's that.
Most likely.
Yeah. So I feel like if Harry stepped in, it would have just been a bad time for him.
Think about it, Harry.
Yeah. so I just think overall it wouldn't have been good for Harry, but I think it would have been. I don't think he would have like sworn any revenge on Spider-Man if his father died and he knew about everything that was happening. I think there would have been like, all right, yeah, I guess my father was kind of a bad person.
Guess he was a dick.
Yeah. But I still feel like there would have been that kind of, what do you call it? Like a fork in the road between him and Peter. Because I feel like Harry still would have blamed Peter in a way, or Spider-Man, whichever one. But it would have been like more forgiving in a way. Because like he understands like, oh, well, he was trying to kill you and you happened to get out of the way, so I'll give you a pass for this one. I don't know.
Let's face it, he was trying to kill both of them.
Yeah, I don't know what Norman's plan was, but I mean, it was definitely Green Goblin thinking, not Norman.
Yeah.
Godspeed, Spider-Man.
Godspeed, Spider-Man. Such an interesting way to say that. Like, I don't know, it's weird.
So deep in tone. It didn't even sound right.
Yeah.
So weird.
Oh, man.
Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy made superhero movies more mainstream. Now, that's not to say there weren't superhero movies before this, and it's not to say there weren't good superhero movies before this, but it definitely helped popularize superhero movies. Would you attribute the success of the MCU movies to these?
I think it helped introduce the MCU. Spider-Man is a well-known character, and seeing him portrayed on the big screen, and with the special effects, I think it pretty much helps their case to be like, we need more superhero movies. So, yeah, that's what I think. I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm kind of along the same lines. I said yes and no. Yes, I agree that the Raimi trilogy helped to make more superhero films mainstream, but it was in a time where superheroes were just kind of coming back into popularity. Spider-Man is arguably one of the most popular superheroes on the market next to Superman and Batman, so it was more of a matter that Marvel kind of had to get him right in order to proceed with anything else. So I think that aspect sort of attributes to, further success down the line, but at the same time, if the MCU put all of their success in attribution to this trilogy, then they just would have made more Spider-Man.
Which I'm not opposed to.
Well, Sony owns Spider-Man.
True. But despite all that,
I digress.
I personally attribute the success of the MCU to the fact that they were able to pull characters that no one really knew or cared much for and make them into the characters that people recognize and love today.
Yeah.
They didn't put all of their eggs into the most popular hero basket and instead took a chance on heroes that they didn't know would succeed or not. It's the combined effort of these storytellers that made the MCU what it is. They didn't, and they made it basically so that they didn't have to rely on Spider-Man and the market of Spider-Man, and instead just added to the catalog. They took their time and played the long game rather than just pumping out a trilogy. So yes, Raimi's trilogy proved that superhero movies could be done properly, as did The Dark Knight, but they had little impact on the overall success of the MCU as a whole.
Yeah, I think for me, the Raimi trilogy was the start of something bigger. Because in my opinion, I have a true love for these movies, and they'll always be my favorite superhero trilogy movies. But
Knew it.
but there's you can't deny that I feel like these movies just only scratch the surface of this universe that the MCU created. And I mean, the MCU just went above and beyond and created this whole other universe and this never-ending sort of story of, like, I don't know, just superhero after superhero and villains, and just made it a million times bigger than what you could ever imagine, back in 2002. Because I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, the Raimi trilogy is just like, to me, it's just a story in itself, and I feel like, yeah, it did create sort of this superhero mainstream sort of thing, but I feel like once the MCU started, I feel like they just kind of rolled with it and took it above and beyond what other people never really maybe wanted to do, but never really could. So I don't know. To me, they just feel completely separate. But I don't know. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I agree with Hannah, like 100% on this.
Really?
Yeah,
You never agree with me on anything.
that's not true.
That's not true.
But anyway,
Happy about that.
I think
Dear diary.
I think if the Raimi trilogy bombed, these producers would have seen, okay, well, I guess no one wants to see superhero movies. I mean, especially since, as Hannah pointed out, like, Spider-Man's one of the most recognizable and most favorite in the Marvel universe. However, I think where the MCU sort of succeeded in, it was sort of linking everybody to, like, this shared universe. I think instead of, just doing, like, all these individual, and then, like, they go, oh, hey, remember that character from that other movie? They're also in this. And then it just sort of created, like, this thing that was gigantic, like,
Huge.
not just spanning, like, the United States, but, like, global. Like, you have superheroes of, like, all different genders and races and types, and you have some that are alien, and, like, you just very diversified it to, I guess, spread, like, this really wide net. Because people, I think one of the major reasons why Spider-Man's so popular is because it's easy for anybody to really put themselves underneath that mask, because you're not just showing, like, some white guy. Like, Peter Parker is, for the most part, a white guy, but, like, you can easily envision yourself wearing that mask, because anybody could.
Yeah.
Like, you're seeing the mask for the most
Yeah.
part. That
Not
makes
everybody
sense.
can be Peter Parker, but everybody can be Spider-Man.
Yeah. So I think it helped, especially since this was, at least the first two, were very successful. Like, it showed that,
Third
hey,
one was a
like,
success too.
it
It actually
yeah,
made
right,
the
Kyle.
most. It made the most in the box office out of the three.
Oh wow.
But we'll talk about those ratings later.
Yeah.
But I think because it was successful, it kind of helped people go, oh, I guess people do want to see this kind of
Guess
stuff.
people are nerds.
Yeah. Because I don't know if you guys remember, but, like, it used to be kind of tough to be a nerd. Like,
Oh, yeah.
people would make fun of nerds, and now, like, nerdy stuff is super popular.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I was a cool person.
Yeah. Yeah. Good one.
It's a good joke.
So, yeah. Are we going to do the ratings for the first one, or are we moving on to the second
Yeah,
set of questions?
Yeah, let's finish up the first one and then we'll do the second one. So
Hey.
so let's start with Rotten Tomato. For Spider-Man 1, the Rotten Tomato meter is kind of interesting. So the critic score was a 90%.
Okay.
And the audience score was a 67%.
Whoa.
Whoa.
So, what are your thoughts on that?
Your voice got really high. He's like, "Be nice, please."
I'm kind of surprised at like the huge difference.
Yeah.
I think like people tend to like nostalgia, and like this definitely being, well, at least for me, one of those movies.
We'll try to remember it when it came out.
Well, yeah, but like, are the users or the audience reviews current? Like, are they
It would have
today
been
people, or would it be back then?
a lot of the reviews for those are done like right around the time, so the critics' reviews would have come out first, and then the audience ones would have come out like shortly after it reached theaters. So
Interesting.
it's not counting like people's nostalgia or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, it's hard to measure it because on Rotten Tomatoes, a lot of these scores, if you look at the dates, they're actually pretty recent.
Oh. See,
So
yeah.
it's hard to gauge what the critics and the audience scores are, from.
But
I think the
it
critics
is
should
an
be
overall score, though.
for when it came.
Yeah, the critics is probably from long, when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't agree with the audience score. I think that's a little low. I don't know if I would put it at 90, personally.
Come on.
I would
Put it
probably
higher.
say
Come on.
probably around like 80, 85. No, 80. I think 80 is good.
Come on. 85.
I think just for the fact of it trying to branch out, I think Trevor and I talked about it earlier, like for the superhero movies, Blade, I think, came out first before Spider-Man.
Oh yeah,
I don't.
they had like 2 Blade movies at least
Yeah.
before Spider-Man.
And I don't think X-Men came out quite yet, right?
No,
That was
X-Men
like-
was first.
Yeah, it was like
Okay.
2000, I think.
So they're slowly branching out. I would personally rank X-Men higher than Spider-Man, but I do.
Now, is that just bias?
Yeah, just because I like X-Men more.
Harry.
Yeah, so but like
Don't tell
overall,
Harry.
I think I think the story was okay, but for the time and the awkward CGI and the nostalgia, I think an 80 would probably be what I would rate it.
Well, the CGI at the time wasn't awkward.
Oh yeah, I know, but like I was just saying for the fact of like they did something. I mean his web swinging was like crazy because like I think Hannah pointed out when we were watching it, like seeing it was like, oh shit, look at him go, he's actually like swinging.
Yeah.
So I thought that was
Yeah,
really
it definitely made
cool.
you excited.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It wasn't just like a dude on a rope.
Yeah,
It was actual physics
Yeah.
and stuff into it, so that was cool.
Yeah.
I would also give it an 80. I think my arguments for it are that it's definitely a strong film in a time where superheroes films were uncommon and kind of a gamble to make. I think I'm with Gigi. I would rank X-Men a little bit higher. Not completely because of bias, but I think the story in X-Men flows a little bit better. For this one, though, I think Tobey's portrayal of Peter Parker specifically is very believable and very accurate. Not so much Spider-Man, sorry, but Peter Parker's spot on. And also, kind of, this movie definitely stuck to a lot of the comic book sources, and that favored well for it. And it also, the aspects of it that they brought into more realistic type of standards, like the Goblin, for example. He wasn't like some dude in a crazy like latex mask, kind of like the comic books. He actually had like something that looked functional in 2002.
Yeah.
So those were not too far into the uncanny valley where it was like, oh, okay. Like, it was actually believable for the time, so I respect it in that. But yeah, I think I would give it an 80.
All right, respectable.
You're still passing.
So I'm trying not to be super biased because, like I mentioned, this is my favorite trilogy when it comes to superhero movies. Um, so I definitely don't agree with the audience score. I don't know why they hate this movie so much. They're they're wrong,
Haters.
straight up. Like there's opinions
Straight
out
up
there,
wrong.
but this one's wrong. But
Someone has to do something.
so
praise.
I definitely think that the audience, or I'm sorry, the critic score is accurate. I agree with the 90% personally, especially for the times. I mean, I I look at all the movies that I can think of in 2002 that came out that same year, and I feel like this one, like when it comes to like the big box office type movies, I feel like this one kind of goes to the top. Because I'm pretty sure it was the same year Attack of the Clones came out, and that movie was, in my opinion, not that great.
How
And
dare you? No, I'm kidding.
I mean, come on, you got a guy complaining about sand.
But it's so coarse, Kyle.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Relatable. It's relatable. But anyway, so personally, I would give it a 90. It's probably not. It's not my favorite of the three, but it definitely gets the ball rolling, and I feel like for me, this Peter Parker is believable. And when it comes to Spider-Man, I'm not huge on the comics, so I don't really know exactly how Spider-Man is supposed to be, or Peter Parker for that matter. But I just feel like, in my opinion, him as Spider-Man, like he has some pretty good one-liners in there, especially further into the trilogy. Um, but overall, I feel like Tobey Maguire did a really good job as Spider-Man, and to me, he feels believable. And I don't know. I think as a movie overall, it has a good balance of like drama and definitely there's a lot of comedy involved. Um, Not like straight up comedy, but like, there's a lot of silly moments. And I feel like it gets a little overdone in the later movies, but in this one, I feel like it was a good balance. Um, and there's just a lot of characters in this movie that I genuinely, can maybe relate to, like especially Peter, but also like I feel like if I was in the shoes of like Harry, I would also feel, frustrated at times because of all the things that are happening without me, and just I don't know. But overall, great movie, and there's a lot of cheesy moments, but I feel like that doesn't really take away from it because of the nostalgic factor for me. Um, so, yeah, 90. I'm sticking with it.
Good for you.
For me, I would do in between. I would do an 85%. Trying to not be biased because I did see this in the theater when it came out, and Spider-Man
Same.
is my favorite superhero. And at the time, I think I would have gone like, "Holy shit! Like a really cool Spider-Man movie." I'd give this like a 95%. It's amazing. But just knowing what I know now, uh, it is a really cool superhero movie. They have the intro just in case you're not familiar with Spider-Man, and then it's just showing like his struggles of what it's like being well, he's out of high school for most of the movie, but just struggling to find that balance between helping out as many people as you can in a city full of assholes, and trying to like live indoors and like whatever. But I think it did a good job. There was some really questionable writing, some dialogue, which it doesn't matter what kind of movie, what year it came out. Like, dialogue is dialogue.
Yeah.
And if it's questionable, then it's questionable. There's really no helping that.
Yeah.
There are some. I don't know. I don't know why the Green Goblin needed Aunt May to finish her prayer. Why? But overall, I think it was solid. It was a superhero movie. It was Spider-Man. I think they did Spider-Man right, just because he's a kid. He's a kid trying to do his best. And he has very limited experience, very limited wisdom, even though he is super smart.
But he's also a nerd.
Yeah, he's a nerd.
Has awkward people skills.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know.
Poor guy.
He's Spider-Man.
He's Spider-Man.
So yeah,
I'm
85%
Spider-Man.
for me.
Peter says that
Got
like
great
a
legs.
bunch of times
Sounds hot.
throughout the movies too.
Yeah. Alright, here it goes. I'm
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
I'm Spider-Man. Bet you didn't hear that coming.
Hear that coming?
Well, he was on the phone, so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy.
I know, crazy, right? Yeah, I think that's what he says.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Anyway, so now we're on to favorite, or no, what would you change?
Whichever.
First?
You change.
Let's start with what would you change about Spider-Man 1?
Okay. So mine takes a dark turn.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Kill Aunt May too?
No. Okay, so hold on. Let me get to that page.
Oh.
So,
Rustling some papers.
yeah. I did like 3 pages of answer things. So I put
What?
I would change Uncle Ben's death scene. So I would have Uncle Ben follow Peter into the wrestling match, and then he sees that Peter has powers and then Spider-Man. So Uncle Ben chooses to go and like confront Peter, and when he does, he goes in the elevator, and then it goes to like Peter doing the whole money thing and not getting his money. But Uncle Ben is nervous, so he's playing with his keys in the elevator, and then the elevator opens. Peter, doesn't do anything, and lets the guy go by, and then at the last minute he sees his Uncle Ben in there, and then the guy sees Uncle Ben's keys, asks him for the keys, and the guy's like, or Uncle Ben's like, no, and then he gets shot, and then the door closes.
Jesus.
And then, yeah, that would be his death scene.
Oh god.
I think it would have a more of an impact.
Yeah, but I think that would also make Peter darker.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd
he
be
would
Bully
darker
Maguire in the
Spider-Man.
first movie.
Yeah. Yikes.
I like the darker Dark Knights. I can't help it.
Dang.
Missed the part where that's my problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would
The
change.
part where murder wasn't an option. Jeez.
Jeez.
That's crazy.
Alright, well I guess
I'm
we'll
not a
end
fan
it there.
Okay. Following that,
Good luck.
I would have changed 2 things. First, I would have given Goblin more of an emotional core. He kind of comes across as like a businessman that's just trying to stay in the game, and he's often heartless. And I think if he had been shown to be a little bit more human, maybe had some more scenes with Harry, or I don't know. I feel like he just comes off as very inhuman.
Yeah.
So I think in order to connect with him more, which I think they definitely did better in the second movie for the villain, they probably should have given him a little bit more of a heart, or a little bit more of a reason for us to care about him. because I felt throughout that I did not.
Did not.
I did not. The other thing is that I would have, I really missed the elements of Spider-Man in general in this movie, which is he makes quips while he fights, and they've explained that like it's his way of coping with being scared. You know, it's, you know, every time he goes into a fight, he doesn't know whether he's going to come out of it, so he makes quips and jokes because that's what makes him a little bit more comfortable. And I think if they had maybe shown a couple situations where Peter already used that, like maybe in school against the bully or something like that, where you kind of see like the origins of where that comes from, and then when he is Spider-Man, give him the actual clips, I would have enjoyed it a lot better.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. I don't really think there's a lot that I would change about this movie. Like I said, one of my favorite, you know, superhero trilogies, or it is my favorite. But for this movie in particular, yeah, I don't really know what I would change. Maybe I wish I wrote it down, but I didn't write anything, so I'm just gonna say no. I'd keep it the same. Maybe make the wrestling match longer. That was great.
3 minutes, Kyle.
give Randy Savage. Yeah, I want to see a 3-minute fight, not 2 minutes.
He pinned him in 2.
Also, what's the deal with the guy? Like the reward is $3,000, and then just because he pinned him in 2, it's like suddenly $100. Like, what kind of ratio is that? If anything, it should be 2,000. It should be 1,000 per minute. Like, come on.
But he's a kid, so he could rip him off. That's what he thought.
Yeah.
Poor
So
dumb
he
kid.
thought.
I would just change some of the writing. Make it more silly, or at least some of it a little bit more silly. There are some moments that are supposed to be serious, but some of the writing just, I think, needs to be redone, reworked. That's pretty much all I would change.
Nice. All right.
Cute.
Favorite moments. Go.
All of them. Just kidding.
Same.
80% of them.
My favorite scene, anytime it comes on, I die, is when he tries to make his web come out for the first time. He's like, "Go, web, go!"
Lie. Shazam!
Shazam!
And then he does the rock on.
Yeah.
That's my favorite scene. Oh man, I love it.
It's so cool too, like the build up to it, and then it's just that.
Yeah.
Like there's so much build up because he's like he's on a roll.
So good.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. That was my favorite scene.
Okay. That was one of mine. I had a couple. The first swing, I've always enjoyed that because it's just hilarious. I love all the scenes with JJJ. He's just the best. That was like the perfect casting.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah, I love every scene with Jonah. I also like, I mean, just the impressive without moving his mouth. That always cracks me up. Because it's just such a close shot on his mouth, and it's like, that obviously needed to be worded.
Yeah.
But nope.
Yeah.
But then the last thing I really love is, despite its like meme status today, like I love the upside down kiss. You know, nothing like that had ever been done before.
Yeah.
And nobody had really thought, you know, a moment like that from comic books could ever come to life. So to like see that they put so much effort into, you know, he obviously had to do, what were you saying, like hours of hanging upside down, and
yeah, like he said at one point he couldn't
drowning.
even breathe because of all the water and MJ's lips and all that. Like he couldn't breathe.
Yeah. To see that all of that work went into that one romantic scene, and how believable that was, like,
Yeah.
I love that scene. So
Yeah.
I give him major props for that.
And I was like, when I get married, that's what's happening.
I'll be the one upside down.
Yes. In the spider suit.
Yep.
Don't you want to wear a dress? No! This is my Spider-Man moment!
Don't take this away from me.
Yeah.
You just have Willem Dafoe in the audience after you guys are kissing, and he's just like, impressive!
He's the one marrying us.
Oh my god.
And it's like, just keep saying impressive. That's all I need.
Yeah. You impressive? You impressive?
Oh man.
Oh, man.
Anyways.
My favorite scene from this movie, I really just enjoy the final showdown between Peter and Norman, or I should say Spider-Man and the Goblin. But it just, for me, it felt like there was just this sense of like no hope at the end, because I mean Goblin was just going to town on him. Like he was like, there was no fight in Peter at that point.
Yeah.
And the only thing that really drove him to sort of fight back was the moment that MJ was mentioned in that fight scene.
Yeah.
And then that really just gave Peter this like second wind, and suddenly he showed his fight and showed what mattered to him was, you know, his love for MJ. And I just love how that sequence went about, because I mean the whole what do you call it, the the area, what do you call that in movies, the props and all that, the abandoned building, what do you call that, like the
like set design?
Yeah, set design. Thank you.
I'm like, I don't know where you're going.
I like the set design for that scene, because like it's just them two like on their own. Like it's not like they're out in the middle of the New York streets, and like it's not like the fair.
Yeah, there's no music either.
Yeah, no
It's
music.
Just, like,
it's just
fight.
It's just
And the
fight.
absence of color too. Like
Yeah.
everything's dulled down in color, and there's all that white dust, but you can clearly see like red versus green.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
it's cool.
I just love the way that they shot all of that whole scene. And like I said, like it's just the two of them. And like before, when you're watching like the whole fair scene, whatever that was, with all the
festival thing.
Yeah, the festival, all that. Like, yeah. God. Like, obviously people died in that scene and stuff, but you never, not even for a quick second, you thought that any of the main characters were gonna die. But like in that moment at the end of the movie, like this was it. Like one of them was gonna die here, and obviously it wasn't gonna be Spider-Man. But like the fact, the fact that they just give the Goblin like, time to just go to town on Peter. Like I don't know, there was just a certain level of like desperation in that scene, and it was like, oh shit, he's really getting his ass kicked here.
Yeah.
But I just love overall that scene, and then the dialogue, and don't tell Harry, best part. But yeah, but I don't know, I just like that scene at the end. It was fun. Good stuff.
For me, it's just very simple. It's Tobey Maguire actually catching all that food on the tray. That was not special effects. That was Tobey Maguire actually catching the food on the tray.
Yeah.
I wonder how many takes
And
that
it
was.
took him,
I think it was like 20
150 takes or something like that.
Jeez.
Just to
Holy
get it down.
shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
That is superhero shit right there.
Yeah. Attaboy, Toby.
Attaboy.
All right. That was it? Just that?
Yep.
Nice. Food.
156 takes.
156.
Wow.
One more than I said.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
But he did it, man. He
That's
fucking
awesome,
did it.
though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's Spider-Man 1. We're going to take a quick break, quote unquote, and do Spider-Man 2 right now, too. So, scabba-da-boo.
Intermission music.
Hey guys, I grew out my beard.
All right. We're recording. And we're back from our intermission, I guess.
That lasted years.
Yeah.
Intermission.
So now we're switching gears to Spider-Man 2. Why are you laughing?
Because I gasped and Trevor
She
looked
gasped.
at me
You thought you were funny.
funny.
It happens a lot.
So yeah, Spider-Man 2 is the second of 3 movies here. This one came out in 2004, and the extended version has like a runtime of 130 minutes or something like that, which is what we watched. And yeah, so number 2, this is the summary. When a failed nuclear fusion experiment results in an explosion that kills his wife, Dr. Otto Octavius is transformed into Dr. Octopus, a cyborg with deadly metal tentacles. Doc Ock blames Spider-Man for the accident and seeks revenge. Meanwhile, Spidey's alter ego, Peter Parker, faces fading powers and self-doubt. Complicating matters are his best friend's hatred for Spider-Man and his true love's sudden engagement to another man. So, from the summary, I mean, that's a pretty good summary right there. You got Peter Parker, and, you know, he's not very confident these days. You got Harry, who's like, oh, fucking Spider-Man, I hate him. And then you got MJ, who's like, I love another man every week. And then you got Doc Ock, who's like, you know, just trying to take out the city. so yeah, this movie stars a lot of the same people. The only person that I feel like is worth mentioning that's in this movie and wasn't in the first one is Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. But yeah, the rest of the cast is pretty much the same. And
Copy and paste.
yeah, pretty much. So we got 4 more questions for this one. So Gigi's got the first one. So Gigi.
Yeah. Okay. So Peter believes that by hiding the fact that he is Spider-Man, he is protecting the ones he loves. As we've seen in both movies, they are still put into danger. If you were the hero, would you choose to keep your super identity a secret or tell your loved ones?
Well, if I was the hero, I'd still keep it a secret. I don't think I could keep doing what I needed to do as a hero or heroine, knowing that someone was worrying about me constantly. It would kind of shift my focus, and I think I would become way more paranoid. I would also think that I would have like this fear that my loved ones knowing would eventually lead to more people knowing, like villains and such, so they would kind of feed into that paranoia of like, oh, they're constantly in danger, I need to like check in on them every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But you know, no one said the superhero life was easy, and Peter definitely goes through a lot of the struggles that I think I would when he's, you know, trying to keep his identity a secret. But I would definitely think you would end up with more struggles if your identity was out. Unless you're Iron Man, who can afford protection. So, yeah. And if you were in Peter's case specifically, like, that's a lot.
Poor Peter. So I kind of said yes and no. I feel like I would tell my loved ones for sure, but I definitely wouldn't want it to be public. But I can see how that can be problematic, as Hannah just mentioned, because, you know, a lot of rumors tend to spread, and it's hard to keep things, you know, a secret. So I would probably end up telling my girlfriend and my dad, and then you guys, and then that would probably be it.
Oh, us?
Yeah, if I could
like
trust you
Logan.
guys.
Jay Jonah. I know who he is.
Give me pictures of Spider-Man.
Give me pictures of Kyle, man.
I called him Peter Man earlier.
Peter Man.
Peter Man.
Peter Pecker.
Later.
Was that supposed to be Ben Parker?
impression of Joe saying "better" from freaking Family Guy.
Oh, it kind of sounded like Uncle Ben.
Dang it!
like when he's dying and he's just like,
Oh
Peter.
no.
Better.
But yeah, I mean, I think overall, like, I wouldn't really think about it much. I would just be like, I would tell like the people closest to me, like I mentioned. But I don't know if I had superpowers, like it would be one of those things where it's like, God, I really wish I could just tell the whole world. But at the same time, like I would be like, no, but I can't because that could be problematic. So I don't know. It would be an inner struggle of my own, like I would just want to tell everyone, but I couldn't, you know? Because like if I have exciting news, like it's one of those things I feel like I have to tell everyone. But I don't know. That's just my opinion.
So I would tell my loved ones, no doubt. Not
No
telling them,
doubt.
Me first, of course.
would I think it just shows a lack of trust. In which case, if you don't trust your loved ones, are they loved ones?
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now
shame on
dig
you
on
guys.
this.
Hey, I said the same thing.
Anyway,
Shame on me.
because why would they tell anybody? I don't know why they would.
Mm.
Um,
Don't
For
tell Harry.
money.
but I
Yeah,
think,
don't tell her.
especially where they live, there's always going to be like the people who oppose superheroes, like just because either they can or they want to. Like there's always going to be that person who wants to hurt the good guy.
They're jealous.
Maybe they were hurt before or something. So by telling your loved ones, you're kind of giving them the option of, hey, do you want to kind of make this work? Do you want to leave? Do you want to go somewhere else? And if they choose to, stick with you, that kind of gives them a heads up, like, hey, you should probably like carry some protection or something.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, always have a condom on you.
yeah, in this scenario, like Peter, he did it really stupidly. Like he was like the only person taking pictures of Spider-Man, so he made a link between him and Spider-Man, which is why like his loved ones were being targeted.
Yeah.
I think that was really stupid on his part, but like, if Aunt May had a gun or something,
A gun?
Green Goblin shows up and blam
Yeah.
blam and bam, no more.
Blam blam.
Just
But-
shoots Doc Ock in the back of the head when she's on top of the building.
by not telling Aunt May,
Shame
by
on
not
you.
telling MJ, by not telling Harry, he's just setting them up for failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, someone's going to find out because someone always finds out. That's just how it is. But you're not doing your loved ones a service by not telling them.
True dat.
Hashtag for real. Okay, I said I would probably tell my loved ones in hopes that they would leave the city I live in. Because I don't know if you noticed, but if you live in the same town as like your loved one, the bad guy doesn't think to go to another town and grab them, especially if it's like across the country. They're just like, I want to take someone that's here from you now, and like,
Yeah.
So I would say in hopes that they would leave, or they would find a way to protect themselves, or they're aware. Like it's just that they're aware and they know that danger is near, or possible. Or if they don't want to be linked to me, we can arrange that. We can fake a death or something, like
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just me.
So, small sub question to Gigi's question. How early do you think Aunt May knew that Peter was Spider-Man, if she knew at all?
Ooh.
I don't
Probably.
think she knew that
I-
early.
I think after he rescued her, for sure.
Yeah.
As soon as he
Yeah.
talked to her, she probably knew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you don't, like, raise a kid for that long and not know their voice.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't try to disguise his voice
Uh-uh.
at all.
No. And I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but like,
And not to mention, there are, like, the little bread trails where like all the sudden changes after he visits Oscorp. Like he goes upstairs and like, oh, he must be on drugs or something, huh? But kind of like just looking back on it, like holy shit, like he visited Oscorp, and then like he complained about not feeling well, and then there's just all these very sudden, very dramatic changes in his life.
Well, like he got super strong and didn't need glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aunt May is not stupid, so I think she would have figured out pretty early on. But I think that him saving her in the bank was probably like the confirmation, I guess.
Key.
Yeah.
Especially with Joel McHale going like, I would say like, oh, your son is like a real superhero or something.
Oh yeah, sarcastically as he's running away, but he was just getting the Spidey suit on.
Like, why would Peter just run away, ditching Aunt May like that?
Yeah.
Don't leave me. Oh my gosh. Okay. So my real question for Spider-Man 2 was, Alfred Molina's portrayal of Doc Ock is widely renowned in the saga of the Raimi trilogy. Do you agree? If so, what do you think gives him this lasting presence with the audience? If not, why do you dislike it?
For me, I feel like Doc Ock had a certain presence about him. Comparing him directly to Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, I feel like Doc Ock had this certain madness to him that he was able to contain, despite being mostly controlled by these, metal tentacle things. And I feel like it helped him seem like a more focused villain and a villain with like this undeniable genius. Because I look at Green Goblin and he was much more deranged and had a short temper and sort of unpredictable. And both of them had their pros and cons, but for me, I just feel like Doc Ock was just not afraid of anything, and I feel like he wanted to get what he wanted at any cost, and Green Goblin did too. But I feel like with Doc Ock, it was more, I don't know, sophisticated in a way. Like he just seemed more mature as a villain. I don't know.
Martinis.
Yeah. Like he was more laid back in a way. It was strange. But like, I don't know, I feel like for me, like this sort of nonchalant way that he went about being a villain, like it made him more iconic in sort of a way. And something that I didn't really notice before, but kind of thought about it, was like I think he's really the only hero or villain in the Raimi trilogy that doesn't have like any kind of mask on him. Because, like, yes, there's Sandman, but, like, when he's Sandman, he obviously doesn't look like himself. And, like, there's, like, Venom has, this thing covering his face when he turns into Venom, and Green Goblin, and I guess you could say Harry doesn't really have anything, because when he's Goblin Jr., he's, like, he's got, little sunglasses on or something like that? Wasn't it like, it was like something covering his eyes, but it wasn't like a mask. Oh no, you know what? It was a mask. It was like it covered his face.
Mask.
Yeah, it covered his face, and that was it. So I mean, to me, Doc Ock, for him to just kind of put his face out there as a villain, like, I don't know, I feel like that's a certain level of like, it's a ballsy move. Like,
he has glasses.
Good for him. Yeah, he did have signature sunglasses though. Yeah, like even when he died, you could see the sunglasses float down the river with him. Like it was kind of funny. but yeah, I feel like for me, that's what makes him sort of, I don't know, stand out. Is just he wasn't afraid to just fully commit to this, Like even Spider-Man wears a mask. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah, he played a great character. You can see his side before he turns. He's relatable, he's sympathetic.
Yeah.
Kind of acting as a role model for Peter.
Mm-hmm.
And he has like this huge, ambitious project of his where, like, if it was successful, it would have dramatically changed the world. Because I think that was like an infinite amount of energy output, right?
Yeah.
in like
Yeah.
such a small space. That's a huge game changer. So I think, kind of going to what Kyle said, relating it to the Green Goblin, you see that Otto Octavius was way more human than Norman Osborn was. Like you see that, like, you know, he cared for his job, he cared for his work, he cared for his wife, and then he's kind of going on about like, oh, if you want to woo women, like, feed them poetry, like, just sort of giving out,
You are
like,
good
some
woman,
weird
I am
life
good man.
advice. But he was like, you kind of side with him. He's just this guy who, like, he made a calculation error and fucked up his life, and
Yeah.
then again blames it on Spider-Man, and he's like, well, I can show the world that this work is like, I can do it. So he tries to go for it again, while, you know, kind of being an asshole and sacrificing people. But
You know, villain things.
You see like that flip. Like, he goes from like this very sympathetic guy to being like this evil monster of a person.
Yeah. And to be fair, to his credit, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Doc Ock killed anyone in the movie.
No, he did try to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he
Just
threw
not
people.
directly.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
because he wasn't successful doesn't mean it makes it any less.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean,
The arms did.
I was gonna say, are we not
Yeah.
counting the arms?
it's all the arms though, so I don't know.
Anyway,
Octavius did not kill anyone.
and then at
The
the
arms.
very end,
The arms are a
Yeah.
different story.
yeah, at the very end, he sacrifices himself to destroy his own project.
Quote unquote
Yeah.
sacrifices.
Yeah, I mean, he started it, but he kind of sees like the error of his ways, and he's going down with the ship, so to speak.
Also, to Trevor's point about the, I like how it's kind of interesting how he starts off as someone who's very limited with his resources and everything. Like, he has
Yeah.
to work for
Rely.
Osborn and everything,
Yeah.
and then when he comes into realization that, like, you know, he's Dr. Octopus and he's gonna do his thing, he's like, nah, I'm unlimited in my resources. Like, I have all this power now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm gonna
like
do
forcing-
something about it.
Yeah, forcing Harry to get him more trillium.
Yeah.
Or tritium?
Tritium.
I think it's
Tritium.
Yeah.
And more cocktails.
Yeah.
His drink.
Nobel Prize.
Beyond the Nobel Prize now.
Oh man.
Yeah, I agree. I put not as, you know, wordy as Trevor, but I put, like, you saw the scientist.
I like him.
He could.
I put you saw the scientist in him. It wasn't like an evil, I'm gonna take over the world kind of thing. It
Yeah.
was I want to do better. I want to help the world, and that was his goal. And yeah, it kind of got out of hand, but
Yeah.
I think that could be why people.
And
I think that's why people probably saw that, where they were just like, well, I mean, he is a bad guy, but at the same time, he's trying to do good. Kind of like Poison Ivy, where, like, she saw the world was burning, and so adding more plants to try to help balance, you know, all the global warming stuff, it kind of goes crazy. But yeah, I think, like Trevor said, I like him. He good.
Good job, Chief.
feel good.
Like, star.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat. I think, you know, Alfred Molina was able to bring such heart to a character like Dr. Octopus, who basically on the surface it kind of sounds like another mad scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But his portrayal gives him such, like, a humanizing element,
Mhm.
you know, quickly establishing what he stands for, what he cares about. You know, you were able to, you know, see the human side of him, whereas, you know, as previously mentioned, couldn't really see that with Green Goblin a whole lot. I also like that even to the end of the movie, he believed in his vision despite everything that he had lost.
Yeah.
And it kind of sets up the payoff to be that much sweeter at the end because, you know, despite Spider-Man fighting him at least twice, it takes Peter taking off his mask and talking to him man to man to get him to stop.
Boy to man.
So, yeah, boy to man.
A young man
Graduated.
to an
He's
old
not a boy,
man.
no, anymore.
But yeah, I just think that payoff is so much sweeter because we do have an understanding of who Octopus is, and you know, he's not really a bad guy. He's just had a lot of bad stuff happen to him, and
Yeah.
I think his quote about the intelligence being something to be used for the good of mankind is really cool too, because you know, despite having done all these bad things, it really just was like him trying to use his intelligence to make the world better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he's definitely memorable for being just one of the most human villain portrayals that we've seen, and yeah, he's just awesome. He looks the part, he plays the heck out of the part, and
Yeah.
he's hands down one of my favorite villains has ever been portrayed on screen. He's great.
Okay, follow-up question.
Ooh.
Do you think there's another actor who could have done just as well, if not better?
Ooh,
As
Dr. Octopus?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say no.
On a
I-
limb, an extra limb?
Yes. What was it? The Seth Rogen laugh.
Oh no.
I would say Seth Rogen.
Ew.
No, I don't
Give
think
me the
so.
blue light, Rosie.
And then well, it's funny because him and James Franco are like friends too, so it's
Yeah, there
like Nobel Prize. Him and Harry just smoke weed on the downtime.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anybody who could have done it better. I thought the guy who played him in the 2018 Spider-Man game did a great job as well. But you know, there's very similar elements of like we're making him very human, we're making him very, you know, I think if anybody had the right script and was, you know, a decent actor, they could probably do a good job, but I think Alfred Molina's the best.
Yeah. I think, I don't know what he looks like now, but maybe a skinnier John Goodman might be able to pull it off.
That'd be interesting.
He does have range, and he has like that, maybe like a, not starving, but like a unrenowned scientist look. I think he could be able to pull that off.
I can see that.
At one point, Spider-Man pulls off his mask and he's like, "Kitty?"
All right. Moving on to my question. There are plenty of factors playing into why Peter loses his powers during the movie, but do you think it was right for him to throw in the towel despite his lack of passion or motivation?
I think it shows his human side. There's an insecurity and frustration by what he can't have. I definitely don't blame him. Like, even if Uncle Ben said, like, with great power comes great responsibility, I don't see that as necessarily, like, a contractual obligation. Like, he can help people, but he was kind of shown, like, time and time again that no matter what he does, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
And just I think the thought of, like, what's the point probably crossed his mind at some point.
Yeah.
And, living in Manhattan, that definitely couldn't have helped it. Like, if you have Spider-Man in, say, like, a smaller city, maybe, like, somewhere in, like, Nebraska, where maybe maybe there isn't a whole lot of crime. I'm just alright. My point is,
I like
In
choked on
Fargo,
that.
Minnesota.
there's a lot of like low-level criminals on Manhattan. Like that's like there's an actual saying where you say you're not a New Yorker until you've been mugged.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that's an actual saying.
Yeah.
Like just to show how much actual crime goes on there. So just an infinite amount of supplies of people who made a wrong decision and decide, hey, I'm just gonna rob this person here or whatever. So if you're gonna be a superhero in Manhattan or New York, like that's a non-stop job right there.
Yeah. It's 24/7.
So I do not blame Peter Parker for wanting a break from being Spider-Man at all.
Yeah.
Gigi?
So I put yes. I don't. I think that just because you're a superhero, you shouldn't have to carry the responsibility of saving everyone. There is always going to be people that you can't save. And I think it gave Chance to realize that he deserves to be happy, and that it's worth trying to find the balance between being Spider-Man and being Peter Parker.
For sure.
A shower. Yeah, I think it's perfectly understandable why he throws in the towel. Peter, like all of us in the audience, is a human being. So this element of the story has such an emotional relatability with the audience, and we can absolutely understand why someone in his position would give it up. So I did think about it also, and I was like, well, this is me as an adult watching this movie saying this. I think as a kid, it was a lot harder for me to understand why Spider-Man would give up. Kind of like the kid does who's helping Aunt May for like $5 because he also had poor conception of labor rates, but
yeah, May played him.
Yeah, it's like $5 and a Slurpee.
Either way, like as an adult who has an understanding of like how difficult multitasking and life in general can be, it's easier for me to empathize with Peter and even go so far as to understand and accept his choice than it would be for someone younger. Like, when I first saw this movie, it's 2004, so I wasn't that old, so I didn't have that same understanding that I do now. But, I think in the end, like, Peter learns, and I think we kind of do as well, that like responsibility can sometimes outweigh our human desires, and there really is a choice, but depending on what choice that you make, you have to be prepared to live with those consequences. So
yeah,
there's never going to be a perfect balance.
No.
Yeah,
But you can try.
You can try real hard, but
yeah. But I mean, for me, I think it was definitely understandable why he threw in the towel and decided to give up the life of being Spider-Man. And it took a lot for him to do that. I mean, obviously, as you can see in the movie, Spider-Man as a hero, he's this kid that, is basically saving lives every day. And to take that away from the people of New York or just any place, like, there's got to be a certain amount of guilt that he feels as he's giving this up. And obviously there's a point where you have to say enough is enough and you have to focus on your own life. And for me, for me, when I watched this as a kid, it broke my heart because I was like, no, Spider-Man, you can't give up. But
you did get a hot dog out of it.
That's true.
He
He did get a hot dog out of it, and it was a very tasty looking hot dog.
Yeah, I want that hot dog.
Yeah.
God damn.
But I think it was, it had to be done because it had to show, it was meant to kind of show Peter like, I don't know, like this is how your life is without being Spider-Man, and this is how your life is with being Spider-Man. And to see, for him to see that direct comparison of like, okay, this is my life as just a normal kid in New York. It's great and all, but there's still this sense of like, there are people that need my help, and he has this certain sense of like, this is his responsibility.
But
And
New Yorkers do have a lot of police as well. So
yeah, but
it's
do they
not
really
just
do
him.
anything?
But it's not just him trying to fight back.
Yeah, of course. But and on top of that, I mean, you have people like J. Jonah Jameson. I mean, bless his heart.
Yeah.
But he's constantly
Bless his
just
heart.
he's constantly just attacking Spider-Man for all the wrong reasons. Like Spider-Man is fighting
Menace.
against crime, but
Hey, it
Jameson,
sells newspapers.
yeah, Jameson, for the better of his own company, is just telling everyone that Spider-Man is a menace and is terrible, and that's totally not true. And I don't know, I put myself in Peter's shoes in that situation, and it's like if I were someone that was just doing all these good things, and people were claiming that I wasn't doing these things, or that I was doing them a different way, like that would make me really upset too. And at one point, when Peter throws in the towel, it's more of like just this, enough is enough. I can't keep doing this to myself. I'm gonna get myself killed, or even worse.
Go his own way.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm happy the way they did it, and then to have him find his mojo again and come back and be the hero again.
Be the
Like,
It's definitely a
Spider-Man
great
we all
moment.
yeah, it's awesome when he gets thrown into that fucking cafe, and then afterward just fucking throws all that shit off him, and he's just like, "Nah!" Like, I'm not sure, he might turn into the Hulk right there.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Wrong Avenger! Wrong Avenger!
Wrong franchise, go away.
And then he does the little fist thing. What is that character, Arthur or whatever from?
Oh yeah, Arthur fist clench.
Yeah, the
Oh
fist
my
clench.
God.
It's great.
That was your answer?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you done?
I feel like I said a
That all
lot.
you got?
That all you got?
For the last question, Danny Elfman, known for his work on Tim Burton films and Oingo Boingo, I'm just going to throw that out there as well, composed music for the first two movies. Did it have a Danny Elfman feel to it? Do these movies have a Tim Burton feel at all?
So I put that yes and no. I put the music did remind me of the Batman theme music, which Tim Burton directed, or I should say the ones that Tim Burton directed. But I also feel like for Tim Burton's movies, he tends to have more percussion instruments in it, like xylophone runs, more timpanis, or more like melodies to go with it, like singing words, because most of his movies have like songs in them. And they're also more depressing or melancholy. So, I think in that sense, I don't think they're close to Tim Burton movie sounds. But it's definitely Danny Elfman sound. So, yeah.
Danny
Made of real elf.
Yeah, I think in terms of Danny Elfman, it definitely has a Danny Elfman film. There's some like feel. Yeah, film feel. There's something about the way he does like the string and brass sections, where the strings will start out very like short and snippy, and it's kind of a build up. Even the brass starts out very short, and then it kind of builds into this big heroic theme. And when it hits hard. like the Batman theme and this theme, when they hit their main like chorus run, you can tell what it is.
Yeah.
And so I think that style of, that he brought from doing the Tim Burton Batman films, it's definitely present. It's a little bit different because it's a different hero, obviously, but It's still there, like the elements are still there. But as far as Tim Burton, I don't think there's really much of his influence in this at all. His style, at least for superhero films, is much darker and more grim in tone. This style obviously worked perfectly with the world of Batman because he's the Dark Knight, but and I think it may even have worked for a better Spider-Man 3, but I digress. But anyways, like Spider-Man's not a dark and grim hero. He's, a hero that needs to be inspiring, bright, colorful, and most importantly, human. These are elements that I don't think Tim Burton's style could ever achieve. I think one of the most important aspects of Spider-Man is that he's not some mystical, fantastical legend out there. He's literally a human being that you could talk and have a hot dog with if you happen to be in the right spot. So for this to be achieved successfully, they had to choose someone who, understood those values and could make Spider-Man the movie that it is. And, really bring those humanizing elements, whereas Batman is more of like a figure in the dark, a legend, like nobody knows what he is, but you could see a Spider-Man on the street and give him a high five. Like, that's just, it's such a difference in tones, and I don't think Tim Burton's style could do that, unless he drastically changed what he wanted to do. But I do think if they had like included him a little bit in Spider-Man 3, we probably would have gotten a better story out of it. So, we'll see.
All right.
Ooh, how's that burger?
It's great. Actually, I was just munching on French fries. But anyway, so for me, for this question, I'm not very familiar with like Danny Elfman or Tim Burton for that matter.
Get educated, son.
Yeah, so I really don't know how to answer this question. For me, yeah, like I don't want to just pass.
The music guy passes. Wow.
I know.
Yeah. So for me, since I don't know Tim Burton that much, I don't know if it has a Tim Burton feel. But as for Danny Elfman, I mean, personally, I like the music. I love the music in these movies. I mean, they are epic, and I think I mentioned it to you guys before. I actually wrote a paper on the music for this movie. It was for Spider-Man 1, but it's the same exact, it's a theme song. That opens up Spider-Man 1 and how it works with the credits and goes into the movie and all that. So there's that. But I mean, for me, I just feel like it's more of a nostalgic, like anytime I hear the song, it just immediately, like all nostalgic just comes back. So that's all I really have to say about
Down his face.
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
For me, again, I agree with Hannah. I think it has a Danny Elfman feel to it, and
Hey, I said it too.
I don't agree with you though. The word that comes to mind for the music he did for these Spider-Man movies, a little weird, but the word that comes to mind is fluttery.
I disagree.
You disagree?
Just to disagree.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, what about it?
I think like how Judy mentioned, he does use a lot of different instruments for his Tim Burton films, but in here, like when I hear this music, there's really only two things that come to mind. It's Spider-Man and New York. Like he completely made it for these movies, and it feels that way. Like there's no separating them now. Like if you put that music in some other movie, you're going to be expecting Spider-Man to come popping out at some point. As far as Tim Burton, the reason I included him was because Danny Elfman has worked with Tim Burton for quite some time. Like there's I think it probably would have been a little bit hard to separate that work.
Mm.
You're bringing like all these years of experience with you onto like this new thing, like wherever you go. But I think he did a great job of making it different. It feels very Spider-Man, like very, as Hannah put it, like inspiring. As Spider-Man, he tries to be not like countrywide, but definitely New York wide or Manhattan wide at least.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't aspire to be like, you know, your friendly countrywide Spider-Man. Is your friendly neighborhood
Friendly
Spider-Man.
country fried Spider-Man.
Oh God.
And this music has that sense of like, here's like this hero, this local hero, where like you can count on him. And as Hannah pointed out, like if you want to get a hot dog with him, he'd probably be down for that as long as there was no crime nearby.
Yeah, sure. I'll take your wiener.
Except for Spider-Man 2 Tobey when he does see crime
Yeah,
go
there
by
is
and
crime.
He's like, hot dog.
Yeah, but
That's when he
that's
quit,
that's
though.
Peter
He
Parker.
he wasn't Spider-Man.
Yeah, nobody wants to hang out with Peter
Yeah.
Parker.
Yeah. Nobody.
But you go, hey Spider-Man, I want to treat you to some
Sausage.
great New York pizza. Like,
Deep dish.
thank you for what you do. He would totally accept it.
Oh yeah. He's not gonna pay my rent, but sure.
Where's my money?
Running out with his pants down.
Oh my god.
Mr. Dikovic.
Mr. Ditkovich. All right, so that's that's all the questions.
Yeah.
I am good. You are good woman. I am good man. So now moving on to the Rotten Tomato scores for Spider-Man 2. We have the critic score at a 93, which is an improvement.
Yeah, it's only slightly though.
Yeah. And then the audience score, which is at a respectable 82.
Okay.
So what do you guys think of that?
Are we going in order still?
You can go first if you want.
Okay, I would give this like a good 96, 97%.
Wow.
This was a fantastic Spider-Man movie. You have a great villain, you show this conflict between, or this internal conflict of the protagonist. He's like, I can't do this anymore, I just want to be a normal person, and then you kind of see that side. It doesn't suit well with him, so he goes back to being a superhero. This is a fantastic Spider-Man movie, not to mention something that my coworker has pointed out a couple times. When they do CGI, usually it's at night, but a lot of the CGI moments in this movie are during the daytime,
Oh.
where like you could see, like the reason they do CGI at night is it's harder to tell it's CGI.
Interesting.
But at the time, like, they were so confident in their abilities, they were doing these shots during daytime. Which, obviously now, it's dated, you can tell it's CGI.
Yeah.
But, like, at the time, it was amazing.
Yeah.
They had
Oh, yeah.
strong
If you
focus
watch-
on what they wanted.
If you watch the behind the scenes of how they did the train fight, whoo, Nelly is
Yeah.
good stuff.
Huh.
Yeah, in the train scene,
Yeah.
like, you show Spider-Man's maybe full potential right there, like, what he's actually capable of. Just stopping this, I don't even know how heavy a train is, but...
Too heavy.
Yeah, too
Yeah.
heavy. He
I think it's
stopped
probably
the
really light.
train.
Lighter than
Goblin.
what we're
Goblin's in his grave going, impressive.
So I would give it probably 96.5.
Nice.
Wow. I agree with the critics, the 92. Oh, or was it 93?
Traitor.
I don't agree with Trevor.
I like how it was Trevor saying that and not immediately Kyle. That makes it all the better.
Out of the three, it is definitely one of the stronger storylines for me.
Not to mention overall.
I
Or
thought this
violent.
was my opinion.
Oh, okay.
But okay.
Oh my gosh.
Intermission.
We'll be right back.
But yeah, so I lost my train of thought. Thanks, Trevor.
Cool.
Wow.
Train of thought.
I see you down there at your 92%.
But no, I did not know that they did CGI at night. I mean, it makes sense. It's easier to hide your flaws in the dark. But yeah, they did have a lot of it in the daytime. Yeah, and I just want to disagree with Trevor, so that's what I'm gonna go with.
I'm right up there with Trevor. I would probably give it a 95, 96. It's definitely my favorite out of the three. I think the emotional driven story favored well for all of the characters whose development really mattered in the film. Sorry, MJ, not you.
Sorry, not sorry.
Like, honestly, she's probably the main thing that bogs down my score at all, because I hated her in this movie. I can't sing enough praises for Alfred Molina. He's amazing, enough said. And I think this story really nails down the conflict of being Spider-Man, you know, trying to maintain your normal life despite being the city's savior, and, you know, just really making you see, like, these struggles that this guy is going through.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they show him at school, they show him trying to maintain a job, they show him trying to, like, maintain his relationships with his friends, like, they show you all of that. There's nothing that's, you know, he's Peter Parker, he's exposed, like, there's nothing hidden about his struggles, and I really appreciated that, so, yeah, 95, 96, I think.
For me, I kind of want to piggyback on what Hannah was just saying at the end there. So first, hey, so first of all, yeah, I think this movie definitely deserves the highest rating out of the three. It's probably like a 95 for me. Like, but what Hannah was saying about how, like, they really, you know, show everything about, you know, all of Peter's hardships, and, you know, all the struggles he has with his relationship and his personal life, and with him being Spider-Man. And I feel like I can definitely see it even more in the extended version. Like, they used all, you know, 130 minutes of this movie to really, you know, really flesh out all these characters
Even
in
the
this
elevator
movie.
guy.
Yeah, especially the elevator guy. And, you know, typically for me, when movies drag on, it kind of brings it down for me. But despite all the extended stuff and the extended scenes that really didn't need to be extended, I still found it enjoyable, because there was, like, this human side of Peter that you get to see, and, you know, Spider-Man being a hero and going through his struggles and his failure and success, and trying to balance everything in his life is just so, it's so apparent in this film. Like, you can really see it. And you know, it's kind of funny to think about, because really I feel like the movie doesn't even get started until like 45 minutes in, because that's around the time that Otto Octavius is doing his experiment. Is around, I think it's around like 45 minutes in the extended version. So it's like, when you look back at it, it's like, wow, there was a lot of stuff in between before that happened. Like, that felt like the beginning of the movie still. So I don't know, for me, like, 95, because I just feel like all in all it was just a super entertaining film. Whether it was, you know, the comedic part, or the drama, or how relatable Peter is, or how awesome Alfred Molina is as Doc Ock. Like, all of it was just really just like A tier for me. S tier. Superior.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Now, what would you change about Spider-Man 2, if anything?
I would have Peter Parker see Jameson in the Spider-Man suit. I think it would be hilarious. Just for the fact of like everyone, is watching him, and I think it would be kind of funny just to have Peter, I don't know, go in to like collect a paycheck or something, and then he just like peeps in the window like where they are and just sees him. I think he'd be like,
Everyone needed to see that.
Yes. Maybe that would have been his motivation. Maybe he'd be like, okay, I need to get the suit back.
Yeah, right.
Can I take your picture for the school paper?
God. Don't make me look ugly.
Yeah. Don't make me look ugly or you're fired. Was that it?
Yeah, that's all I got.
Nice. For me, another two things. First of all, I would have reduced or completely removed MJ's importance.
Bye.
Like, I know she's the girl of Peter's dreams or whatever, but I probably would have tried introducing a couple of the other women in Peter's life, like maybe Betty or Gwen Stacy at that point, or someone else. There's plenty of other ones, but
He's got a lot of women.
I think the point I'm trying to make is that you could still tell the same story of like he's letting these women down by constantly disappearing for dates and stuff without having it have to be Mary Jane.
Yeah, and I think by doing that you would show like how they're supposed to be destined to be together.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways you could have done that, and even the fact that she was getting married could still stay in the story, but even if her role was reduced, he would still have feelings towards like, oh no, she's getting married, like maybe he wasn't with her because he's Spider-Man or whatever, but seeing someone that you do love getting married to someone else, even if you've seen a couple people in between, like that has an emotional impact. So I think they could have greatly reduced her role in that movie because she just comes off as really, really annoying throughout. And she's definitely my least favorite character in that movie. It's just awful. But also, and I did like the payoff of him taking off his mask at the end, but I don't know why they have to, in every one of these movies, have Spider-Man's mask off by the end. I like Spider-Man fights with Spider-Man mask on. There's comics constantly of him winning fights with his mask on. I don't think he has to always have it off, but at least in this movie, I did like that they kept his mask on more, and the payoff at the end of him straight on talking to Otto, that does make sense. So, yeah. Yeah, I digress.
Sorry, chewing food.
Nom nom.
Well, I can go first if you want.
No, I got it. So one thing I would change about this movie is the poetry. Like there's
So cheesy.
yeah, there's plenty of like as a overall consensus for the audience, general people. There's plenty of cringy moments and things that people don't like. But for me, a lot of it is okay for me because, like I said, it's a nostalgic kind of movie for me and all this and that. So I can get past all the cheesy stuff. But the poetry is just god awful. Like the way he presents it to Mary Jane and the sound, the desperation in his voice when he's trying to talk to her about it. It's like, dude, this is so pathetic. Like it was bad. Like I'm okay with him reading the poetry in the laundromat, because like that was like him like just taking someone else's advice. Like it wasn't like he was going through with it. But like there's a time and place for that poetry, and it's just that wasn't it. It was timing was terrible, and overall I just
feel worse for him.
yeah, overall I just thought it was really just bad, like in general. Like, there's plenty of cheesy and cringe moments in these movies, but that one was just, ugh, that one was too much for me.
Yikes.
There's only one thing I would change, and it's actually in addition to the movie, and it would just be like a couple cuts to Jameson wearing the Spider-Man costume, just doing like his job. Not just like, oh look, I'm Spider-Man, so he's like gotta pretend to shoot some webs, but like he's sitting there in his chair trying to figure out what's on page 1.
Yeah.
Oh my
in the
god.
Spider-Man
Just doing his
costume,
job.
just to kind of show
Hoffman!
Yeah.
kind of like how Batman and the Joker can't really exist without each other. Jameson can't exist without Spider-Man. Like, just to show
Very
like how
true.
much he truly misses him.
Yeah.
That would have been good.
All right.
It was 2 movies, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. What is your favorite scene or moment from this movie?
I've got a few. So because we watched the extended version, we got to see Jameson in the Spider-Man suit. That was pretty fucking great.
Yeah.
that was great. And then before that, originally I had 2 other ones. I like his happy walk. It's just he's like, yeah, I'm carefree. I'm living my life. That montage, and that freeze
So
frame.
bad.
The
The freeze frame.
Great, beautiful. And then the other one is the "I'm back" scene, and then
Yeah.
he falls,
Then it
like,
turns
goes,
into
"I'm
my bad."
back." Yeah. Yeah, that's another good one. I like that one.
I also have a couple. The first one I put down was Pizza Time. The extended version made that even cringier, and I loved every second of it. Like him trying to put the freaking brooms back in the closet.
God.
Oh my gosh. She's just watching him the whole time.
I know.
Shooting her gun.
And she doesn't even question why he came out of a closet, and I love
Yeah.
it. It's just so good.
Elevator.
Yeah. The second one I put was the train fight. I love the train fight. It's so good. It's so well choreographed. It's the CGI, like you can tell now, but like back then that was a superhero fight. And that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
epic. And I loved it so much. I love it all the way up until the people like bring him on the train. But that part's a little cheesy, but
Well, what are they
I'll
gonna
take
do?
it for
Just
the
let him
fight.
fall?
No, not that part. Just like he has his mask off, so I'm not too happy about that. Like I get, we're your bros, man. Like we're New York, we back up Spider-Man, but like I just don't like that part.
Really? Shit.
Yeah, I don't like it. He should have had his mask on.
Should have kept it on.
Yeah.
And it's really into
Again.
masks, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah. Anyways, I like all the scenes with J. Jonah, like especially him in the office, like whipping his way around.
Yeah.
Like that's just funny. But every scene with him is a gem. And then the last one I put was the raindrops montage. It's just so like his walk is so happy. Like I don't think I've
Right?
ever seen anyone walk that happy.
He even trips, but he gets
Yeah,
up.
and he
Like,
gets up and he's fine.
It's like totally fine, yeah.
no
And
worries.
like he's like, doing well in school, and like he goes and sees the play, and like that freeze frame is just funny.
Yes.
I love it. It's so good.
Yeah. For me, a couple of my favorite moments. I'll say this one first since Hannah mentioned it as not one of her favorites. I actually liked when they pulled him into the train station or the train, and then like they all saw him without his mask on, and like I don't know, it was just like this sense of like like humanizing Spider-Man. Like, oh man, he's just a kid. Like I really enjoyed that part.
Protect our own, pretty much.
Yeah. And then also the train fight in general was just really, I mean, Hannah already said it. It's just really well choreographed and just a great fight scene overall.
So phenomenal.
And then I also enjoyed one of my favorite like funny moments from this movie is when Peter asks Jameson, "Can I get paid in advance?" And then Jonah just laughs in his face for like 10 straight seconds. What, are you serious?
One of the greatest laughs in history.
Yeah. And then right after that, I think Miss Brandt comes in, and then Jonah's like, "Miss Brandt, get this man a violin," or something.
Oh yeah.
Brett, bring me a violin.
It's just so great. I mean, I don't know. There's just something about J.K. Simmons, man. He just killed that whole character. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah, I'm glad they brought him back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I haven't gotten that far, so I don't know what you're talking about. But
Damn it, Kyle.
God.
way to spoil it.
Who else could play J. Jonah Jameson, Kyle?
Well, I didn't know there was a J. Jonah Jameson, but anyway.
Well, now you have to watch
There's
it.
a Spider-Man. There's gonna be one.
Anyway.
Yeah, Trevor already said they need each other.
True. But yeah, those scenes were great, and I don't know, it's so bad, but it's so good to me. The freaking when Peter turns around and sees MJ, and MJ sees him for the first time as Spider-Man, and he's, unmasked, obviously, like right after the conversation with Doc Ock, and then the scream that follows. I don't know what is up with that frame, like the shot of Peter, like it's not his whole head, it's just like it's kind of zoomed in, and then Peter's mouth just gets so wide open, and that scream.
Dinosaur to me.
I have no idea how he made that noise, or if he was able to replicate it, in future takes, or right.
Probably 156. Yeah.
But that scream, I mean, it's created so many memes along with so many other great moments, but
Oh man.
I know it's terrible, and I know it's not something that should be praised, but to me it's just perfect.
Oh, I forgot the moment with the usher at the play.
Oh,
that
yeah.
always gets me good
Oh yeah,
too.
Bruce Campbell.
When he like won't talk to him until he is like properly attired.
Yeah.
So great.
Okay,
It was
for
kind
me,
of.
I have 3.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, Kyle.
I wanted to point something out real quick.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you guys heard me during the movie, but when we were watching it that last time, first time I noticed this, like when Bruce Campbell like shooed him away the last time, and like right before the scene was about to cut, like it looked like Toby like made his hand into like he was gonna shoot a web or something. Like it was really weird. Like his right hand like turned into like the same the same way he uses his web, and then nothing happened. But like it was just weird. Like why did he form his hand like that? It was really weird. I don't know.
He's so used to it. He's in character.
Like was he gonna like shoot Bruce Campbell in the face with the web or what?
Maybe he was gonna swing into the doors.
Maybe.
Yeah, he could have done that. Just find a different opening. But anyway, for me, I have 3. The first one is right before the "I'm back" moment. He's up on the rooftop and he's running, and it shows his face.
Oh.
And he's making like this really weird running face.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's such a good face right
His
there.
cheeks jiggle.
Yeah.
Jiggle cheeks.
And then my second one, the train. Just the whole train fight was amazing. And there's one part, actually 2, I want to mention. Him right in front of the train, like stopping it. Like not for the facial expression, even though that was good too, but like showing what Spider-Man is like really capable of.
Yeah.
Like it's not easy stopping a train, even if you're using like the actual brakes. Like it takes a long time to stop. But this was a train going at like full speed, and he just like shot all these webs, and he was just using his brute strength to hold it, to slow it down and stop it. And then another part that I think kind of stood out to me more on this viewing, Dr. Octopus, he's on the side of the train, and Peter, he does like this thing where like he swings around the pole on the inside and goes launching out, and he uses his webs to like bring him back to the train. I thought that was so cool. Like, that's such a Spider-Man move right there. Not like
heck yeah.
falling out the window, but like launching out and then bringing himself back to the train with his webs.
He's, you know, a superhero.
I mean,
And then third, obviously, Jameson in the Spider-Man suit.
Yes.
Just shooting his webs, and he's like on the table acting like Spider-Man.
Oh my god.
With the cigar.
Yeah, and the cigar, of course.
So
Of course. And I love how all of his coworkers are looking through the window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He probably noticed too.
I think that's the best part of it, is like, he had the cigar, so that's why he didn't put the mask on. You know that's the reason he didn't put it on, is because he
Maybe
couldn't
he
have
didn't
the
want
cigar.
to kiss Spider-Man's lips, because, I mean, that's a pretty tight mask.
Nah, he's Jameson, no matter what suit he's wearing.
Yeah. All right. So that's it. That was Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 1 and 2. And yeah, stay tuned for Spider-Man 3, which will be coming out 2 weeks from now. Not now, but now from when this episode airs. And yeah.
Relative.
Until then,
Strange is back.
until then,
Dig on this.
yeah. Just remember, guys, don't tell Harry.
Don't tell Harry.